Hi, my name is Yulia, and I'm sure you're excited to see me again. This is the News Brief. Here we catch up with 4 to 6 news stories every other day that I expertly tailor based on what I consider, in my humble opinion, to be the most relevant today. Then we discuss it in the comments, so you don't have to suffer alone, and I don't have to suffer alone. Also, please don't forget to give this video some of your constructive criticism, your thoughts and opinions, so I can read them and I can continue tailoring this segment to your needs and expectations. Let's get it. I can't say good morning today because truly it is not a good morning, and today's episode is going to be a lot different than what it usually is. The entirety of Ukraine shook in terror today, and I'm going to read you the notifications from my OSINT channels on Telegram starting at 4:30 a.m. If you don't know what I'm talking about, usually when there are air raids in our country, we do have OSINT on Telegram, which is a messenger we probably should not be using, and you can watch the episode of Red Lines that I and my colleagues recorded the other day to understand why, but unfortunately it is what it is. Anyways, we do get a lot of information from there, and we have the ability to track and monitor what kind of threats are coming onto Ukraine, whether it be ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, or UAVs. Last night was probably one of the most difficult nights in the past, I want to say, maybe 3 months. Since August 26th, Russia has been relentlessly targeting Ukraine, and I mean Russia always targets Ukraine, but I mean relentlessly. So let me read to you what Ukrainian people have gone through last night. And the reason why I'm going to be reading it, you might notice I have my phone here, is because I want you to experience what we experience when we receive these notifications. 4:42 a.m. At 4:41, there is only one UAV left in a particular region in Kyiv. 4:42 a.m., 3 separate groups of cruise missiles are going through Sumy region towards the west. 4:46 a.m., those 3 groups of cruise missiles are likely X-101 are going through a specific region of Chernihiv Oblast towards Kyiv. 4:49 a.m., they're going towards a specific region in Kyiv. The route is towards southwest. 4:51 a.m., tactical aviation is active in northeast. There is a threat of cabs. 4:52 a.m., the first group of cruise missile X-101 towards Myrhorod. Second and third groups of cruise missiles towards Chernihiv and Nizhyn. 4:59 a.m., the first group of cruise missiles are going towards Cherkasy. The second group are going towards Boryspil in Kyiv. Third and fourth group, there is now a fourth group added, are going towards Poltava. The route is towards south. 5 a.m., Boryspil, attention. Cruise missiles are moving towards the city. By the city, they mean Kyiv here. 5:02 a.m., the first group of cruise missiles is going through Cherkasy towards Kirovograd. The route is towards south. 5:02 a.m., the second group of cruise missiles is going through Boryspil towards Cherkasy. 5:02 a.m. again, third and fourth groups are going towards Lubny, and then the vector is to the south. 5:08 a.m., first group of cruise missiles is going through Kirovograd. The route is towards the west, towards Vinnytsia. The second group is going through Cherkasy towards Smila. Third group is going through Lubny towards Smila and Cherkasy. 5:08 a.m., yay, ballistic missiles have been launched from Russia towards Sumy. 5:12 a.m., the second group of cruise missiles is going towards Bila Tserkva, that is Kyiv region. Third and fourth is going towards Kremenchuk, and there is a hydroelectric power plant there. 5:13 a.m., 2 ballistic missiles towards Kyiv and Kyiv Oblast. 5:14 a.m., cruise missiles towards Vasilkiv and Obuchiv. 5:16 a.m., third and fourth groups of cruise missiles are going towards Kropyvnytsky. 5:17 a.m., the first group of cruise missiles towards Kyiv. 5:18 a.m., yay, new ballistics towards Kyiv. Kyiv, attention, there are many different missile types, both ballistics and cruise missiles, towards Kyiv city. The second group of cruise missiles at 5:21 a.m. is going through Bila Tserkva, which is a small city near Kyiv, towards Kyiv. Third and fourth groups of cruise missiles are going towards Kropyvnytsky, and they're likely going to change direction and vector towards Kyiv as well. Another launch of ballistic missiles towards Kyiv. Kyiv, attention, there are many different types of missiles approaching the city at 5:24 a.m. Then there is also third and fourth groups of cruise missiles that are now also going onto Kyiv. 5:27 a.m. You should be expecting ballistics towards Kyiv and also cruise missiles near Obuchiv. 5:28 a.m. There is ballistics in Brovary. 5:29 a.m. launches of ballistics towards Kharkiv. 5:30 a.m. launches of ballistics towards Kyiv. The third group of cruise missiles is going towards Kyiv again. 5:30 a.m. 5:33 a.m. The right bank of Kyiv is under threat of being hit by the third group of cruise missiles and ballistics. 5:34 a.m. The fourth group of cruise missiles is going through Bila Tserkva again towards the right bank of Kyiv, so central Kyiv. 5:37 a.m. The last few cruise missiles are going towards Kyiv through Vasilkiv. At 5:41 a.m., the notification said that, the missile threat is still active until the air raid is over, but basically the air looks clear. So I believe that the air raid was over at 6 a.m. We all woke up at 4 a.m. to all of these various different cities in Ukraine being attacked by missiles. And I understand that it was a very long read of, notifications from my phone, but I need you to understand that this is how Ukrainians function and live every single evening. This is what happens. Every 2 minutes, we get notifications of where these missiles are flying from, where they're flying to. They change directions a million times. So you sit there gasping because you don't know where it's actually going and where it's going to land. There were about 10 different ballistic launches onto Kyiv last evening. There were all of these cruise missiles that were kind of circling around different states and threatening them, but they were all meant for Kyiv. There were ballistic missiles going onto Kharkiv. It is terror. We live in terror. My apartment building shook to the point that some of the art that was hung on my walls literally fell down. I walked out of my bedroom with my 2 dogs this morning to a bunch of things just laying on the floor in my apartment because apparently something was taken down over my neighborhood and there was a piece of debris that fell not far away. A colleague of mine lives in a different neighborhood and there was something very huge, likely a big piece of debris that fell next to him. The reason why today's episode is very different is because when I walked into work today, I figured that we are not going to be doing regular news. Every single person I've spoken to today is exhausted because no one has gotten more than 1 hour of sleep. Everyone is on their last straw. Everyone is terrorized. Everyone is tired. Everyone is scared. No one had a reasonable night of sleep. And that is horrifying. And the reason why this is happening is something we're going to be talking about after I read you everything else that had happened in the rest of Ukraine without notifications on my phone, but rather with videos and pictures, unfortunately, of everything horrifying that Russia has unleashed onto Ukraine in the past few days. Russian attack on Cherkasska Lozova in Kharkiv region. 2 people were killed and several others were injured. Initially, the head of the regional state administration, Oleg Senegubov, reported 4 casualties, but this number later increased to 8. Also, we cannot forget about the situation that happened in Kharkiv, where they were attacked by cabs and a 17 or 18-year-old girl was sitting on a bench. And I mean, I can't show this on air, but her head was blown off her body. And this picture made various rounds on the internet, and poor, regular, everyday Russians were reacting to that picture. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I've done my due diligence of translating these things into English so you can read them yourself, because I frankly do not want to re-experience it. Kharkiv, in the parking lot near the epicenter hypermarket that was destroyed by a Russian missile a couple of months ago, an inscription appeared: "God saves our souls. Patriots save our lives. Russian forces targeted Kharkiv, causing significant damage to civilian infrastructure. Reports indicate that 25 people were injured in the attack. The areas affected include a Novopochta branch, various shops, a sports complex, a shopping center, and several cars. The attack was directed solely at civilian targets, and efforts to address the aftermath are currently ongoing. Kharkiv also made August 31st the day of mourning for the victims of everything that has been going on in Kharkiv in the past week. Kharkiv has been under such severe attacks. August 31st was the day of mourning for the attacks that happened beforehand. Kharkiv now needs a new day of mourning because the attacks I'm describing to you right now happened afterwards. Russians launched about 789 Shahed drones at Ukraine in August. Attacks occurred on 27 out of 31 days. This is a record we never wanted to beat. Russia attacked a convoy of grain trucks in the Sumy region, resulting in the death of a 23-year-old truck driver. 4 other drivers were injured in the attack, with 1 truck catching fire and around 20 others sustaining damage. Russian armed forces strike Children's Rehabilitation Center and orphanage in Sumy. The building, located in a residential area, was hit. Rescuers are on the scene, and the full extent of the damage is still being assessed. Sumy attack victims increased to 18, including 6 children. On the evening of September 1st, a rocket attack hit an educational institution in Sumy, where a center for social and psychological rehabilitation for children and an orphanage are located. The number of victims has risen to 18, including 6 children, according to Sumy Oblast Emergency Department. The attack caused the building to partially collapse and catch fire. The blast also damaged 6 nearby apartment buildings. Firefighters quickly brought the blaze under control. I want you to notice that all of these attacks are being unleashed onto civilian infrastructure. And you might think that this is a response for Kursk region incursion. No, it isn't. It is just the regular course of Russian operations against Ukraine to literally erase us off the face of the earth. They have been doing this before Kursk, and they will be doing it after Kursk. They have been doing it this entire time. Just remember Severodonetsk, remember Mariupol, remember Mariinka, remember Bakhmut, Soledar, and I can keep going because Russia is not responding to anything. It is not a Russian response for crossing Putin's red lines. It is just Russian nature. They want to blow up and they want to burn out everything on their way when it comes to this country. And here is a summary of what had happened in Kyiv this night. Kyiv faced a massive rocket attack with multiple ballistic missile launches. Cruise missiles were also targeting the city. Some have been shot down, while others remained in the air for a long time. There are also reports of several Shaheds that were heading towards the capital. Russian army launched missile attacks on Kyiv with cruise and ballistic missiles. Around 3 a.m., cruise missiles, likely X-101, were fired from Tu-95 MS strategic bombers in the Saratov region of Russia. Simultaneously, the Russians launched North Korean KN-24 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and another strike drone over Kyiv and its suburbs. According to Kyiv City Military Administration, anti-aircraft defense systems destroyed more than a dozen cruise missiles, around a dozen ballistic missiles, and 1 attack drone. In Holosiyevsky district in Kyiv, debris hit a boiler house of an educational institution. The fire has since been extinguished, according to the state emergency services. The boiler house in Ukrainian, sometimes these translations are awkward from Ukrainian media, but the boiler house is basically like a heating room. This is where HVACs are located. So an educational institution for children now will not have, likely will not have any heating or cooling until this is fixed. Kyiv's Islamic Cultural Center damaged in Russian shelling. The Islamic Cultural Center in Kyiv was damaged by extensive shelling from the Russian Federation, announced Refat Chubarov, chairman of the Majlis of the Crimean Tatar people. The building, including its mosque, requires repairs. Chubarov criticized Russia as a source of absolute evil in a Facebook post. Deputy Mufti of Muslims of Crimea and military chaplain Suleiman Kairulayev reported that there were no casualties. Thankfully, there were no casualties in Kyiv this time around because our air defense has done some practical magic. But every time that you hear all of these rockets being taken down or no damage being caused, this means no significant damage. So roofs of some houses were definitely still destroyed. It's just not significant damage because it can be repaired. Every time a missile is being shot down, it's not like it evaporates into the air. It's not like it disappears. The debris from this missile falls somewhere, and that still causes a lot of problems because, even if it's a field, it can destroy crops, or it can destroy nature, or it can kill animals that live there. It's just that, significant damage didn't occur, and all of these missiles and drones and cabs were taken down. But they still caused issues, just not super significant issues. Russians blocked civilian evacuations from combat zones in Kursk region, says spokesman for Siversk Group Vadim Mysnik. Because Russians do not want Russians to evacuate from the battlefield and from the zones of severe military action, because Russians do not care about their own people. Russians do not care for people. They don't care for human life. They don't care for any life. And we see that with how much missiles they're shooting at Ukraine. But we also now see that with how much they care about their own people. Locals express their desire for peace, claiming they're not involved in politics. How convenient. They want the fighting to stop or to be given a corridor to leave the combat zone, but Russia refuses to allow it, he noted. Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, they're kind of experiencing what Ukrainians have been experiencing for almost 3 years now, but also not even close, because Ukrainian military treats them humanely. Ukrainian military gives them water, gives them food. Ukrainian military takes care of them. Ukrainian military shields them. While the Russian military coming into Ukraine did not do any of that. In fact, they assayed people, tortured people, killed people, and took over their houses, looted from them, stole their valuables, stole museum pieces, stole Ukrainian history, burned books, and hurt people for speaking Ukrainian. That's what the Russian military did. And sometimes, especially on days like today, when I sit here in the studio and I inevitably catch up with the news and I read about Russian people complaining about, how can we live like this? This is inhumane. We have to sit in our basements and we have to experience shelling and artillery and mortar fire over us. It's awful. Really? What did you think Ukrainians were going through this entire time? And again, these things they're complaining about are not even a fraction of the stuff we have been going through, not for a couple of weeks, for years. And there was no one there to shield us until the armed forces of Ukraine came back and took over our territory, because the armed forces of the Russian Federation were not shielding us. They were, in fact, making our suffering worse. EU Ambassador to Kyiv, Katarina Maternova, highlighted the immense suffering Ukraine has endured over the past 3 months, calling it the most intense period of human suffering since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. Speaking at the GlobeSec Forum in Prague, she emphasized that the war has not waned. Instead, the attacks have intensified, with the recent strike being the largest on all of Ukraine since the invasion began. Maternova urged the international community not to become desensitized to the numerous war crimes being committed. And unfortunately, the international community has become desensitized. Ukraine experiences horrendous strikes every day, but it's not until something like today or August 26th happens, or Ohmedit Children's Hospital, or Russia striking the hydroelectric power plant, or something happening at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, that it makes the news at all. Because Ukraine has been living in this for 2.5 years, and I understand that it's become routine for most people. They open their newspapers and they're like, another ballistic strike on Ukraine. Another 12 people killed in Kharkiv. Another little dangerous situation happening in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And I understand that for you, it's just the news. And you have become desensitized because it happens so often, it's almost impossible to not become desensitized. But I beg you and I implore you to not be desensitized, because this shouldn't become the new normal. This shouldn't become the routine. This should every new strike on Ukraine that happens every day should only push you to advocate for Ukraine harder, to call more of your representatives, to give us more air defense, to let us strike into Russia, and we're going to get there. But this is not normal. And unfortunately, it is becoming normal. And sitting here in Ukraine, waking up at 4 a.m. because there are ballistic missiles heading towards your apartment, you get enraged. You get enraged and you get so demoralized because you see people in the West literally not caring. Maternova shared her own experience of traveling from Kyiv to Prague, which took 28 hours, and described the challenges of life in Ukraine, including the frequent and prolonged power outages caused by Russia's destruction of 70 to 80% of Ukraine's energy production capacity. She also underlined the significance of Ukraine's actions in the Kursk region, stating that despite criticism from the West, these operations have had a crucial impact on Ukrainian morale, especially as the country faces a difficult winter. Maternova stressed that these operations have not only demonstrated the weakness of Putin's regime, but also shifted the narrative, giving Ukraine important leverage in its ongoing struggle. And everything that I just spoke about, and everything we'll continue speaking about, and all of the missile attacks that are going to continue happening to Ukraine are exactly the reason why Zelensky and our government are asking the West to let us strike deep into Russia. We're not trying to strike Russian civilians. We have a perfect record of obeying all of the restrictions that have been imposed on us so absolutely unfairly. We need to strike Russia's airfields and we need to strike Russia's ammo facilities because we need to protect ourselves from these types of situations like last night, like August 26th, like January 2nd, like Mariupol from happening. And I wonder, why are we protecting Russian airfields and we're protecting Russian ammo facilities and Russia more than we're protecting the lives of Ukrainian civilians? Not letting us strike deep into Russian territory is basically letting Russia kill us and not letting us defend ourselves. The kind of atmosphere that it creates in the geopolitics internationally is that in the minds of Western politicians, killing Ukrainians has become a norm. Russians committing war crimes has become a norm. Being scared of Russia crossing some lines and doing something crazy has become a norm. Yet all of these restrictions and the Kremlin's reaction to Ukraine invading Kursk should be showing you that Russia is not able to respond in any way other than continuously terrorize Ukraine. And if your argument is, oh, but if Ukraine strikes Russia, they're going to strike back harder than ever, then no, they are not going to be able to strike back harder than ever if you let us destroy the source of their strikes, aka airfields and ammo facilities. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because the West is like, oh, we cannot allow Ukraine to do this because Russia is going to respond in terror. Well, they can only respond in terror if you do not let us destroy their airfields and destroy their ability to respond in terror. We are used to this terror. This is not new terror. This is the terror Russia has been inflicting on us, is inflicting on us, and will be inflicting on us. To be fair, nothing is going to happen to the West if the West lets Ukraine strike Russia. Ukraine is already in Russia. We've already invaded part of Russia. Do you see Putin doing anything other terrorizing Ukraine more? No, you don't, because that's all he can do. All Russia and Putin can do is continuously keep sending missiles our way. That's all. And we are asking you to be able to take that ability away from them. Europe and the West are never going to experience peace if they do not let Ukraine win on Ukraine's terms. Because winning on Russia's terms or letting Russia have any leverage or leeway in this war is literally just prolonging their ability to terrorize the rest of the world. And I feel like Europe and the Western world in general is still having a very, very hard time comprehending it. And it's really time to start listening to us Ukrainians, because we know how to end this. We know how to end this because we understand Russia. You have the means to end it, but you don't, unfortunately, still understand Russia. Listen to us. Give us what we are asking for. During a meeting with senior U.S. officials, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov provided a list of targets that Kyiv wants to strike using American long-range ATACMS missiles, as he revealed in his interview with the CNN. We explained that we need to protect our citizens from Russian terror, and I hope we were heard. We showed that the airfields used by Russia to strike our cities are within the range of deep strikes, Umerov said. He emphasized that Ukraine will continue to push for the removal of restrictions to protect civilians and infrastructure. They, the Russians, are killing our citizens. We want to restrain them, stop them, and prevent their aircraft from approaching our borders to bomb our cities, Umerov explained. And that's something he's explaining, Zelensky has been explaining, and I have been relentlessly explaining, that letting Ukraine strike Russian airfields is not offense. It's defense, and it's effective defense against Russia. Here is the narrative that seems to be prevailing in the Western world that prevents, particularly the West, from letting Ukraine strike Russia. And that's this. Russia is considering revising its nuclear doctrine due to what it perceives as the escalation course of the West. Deputy head of the Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Ryabkov mentioned that the worsening foreign policy situation driven by the actions of the United States and its allies has prompted Moscow to assess whether its current nuclear deterrence strategy is adequate. He stated that the process of updating the relevant document is ongoing, though it's too early to predict when this revision will be finalized. Russia doesn't need to update its nuclear doctrine. Russia doesn't care about doctrines. Russia doesn't care about paperwork. We've seen this demonstrated over and over and over again. Russia continues using the nuclear language to scare the West into submission, and unfortunately, it's been working. Anytime Russia starts using the nuclear language, it's because Russia doesn't know what to do because it's backed into the corner and it is losing. Russia is not using the nuclear language because it's actually going to use nukes. They're using the nuclear language because they're finally getting weaker and because you, the West, are doing the right thing in weakening them. And then they start talking about nukes and you stop and you let them come back up. Russia is the boy who cried wolf. And in reality, they do not need to update these stupid pieces of paper. And I'm sorry for the language I'm using, but I feel like the simpler I make it, the more understandable it is. Russia uses nuclear threats to prevent you from destroying it. If they wanted to use their nukes, they would have. Ukraine crossed every single nuclear red line that Russia has talked about since the beginning of this invasion. Are we nuked? The answer is in front of you because I'm here talking to you through your computer screen or TV on YouTube, and you're here watching it. So no, we in fact are not nuked. The only thing Russia can actually do is continue hacking into Europe and continue hacking into the US and continue hacking into Latin America and continue hacking into countries like Germany. German air traffic control targeted by hackers suspected to be pro-Russian DFS confirmed that the hacker attack did not disrupt air traffic, which continues as normal. The attack occurred last week, but it's unclear if any data was accessed. Local media reports linked the attack to the hacker group APT28, also known as Fancy Bear. APT28 has targeted commercial companies in defense, energy, and logistics for several years. Western governments consider this group to be connected to Russian intelligence services. In Germany, they gained notoriety in 2015 for a cyber attack on the Bundestag. So Russia's only retaliation is cyber attacks. But Russia is also not nearly as cyber sophisticated as, for instance, the US is, or even Ukraine, or even Germany. And if we expect these attacks to worsen, we can adequately prepare for them. And I'm going to leave you today with everything that we've talked about. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to watch it and really intensely watch it and listen to all the things that I've talked about today. And really put yourself in our shoes and what we're going through and how what we are going through is affecting world security. Russia is trying to hack into the world. Russia is trying to install politicians in the world. And that can be stopped. Russia meddling in your world affairs can be stopped by letting Ukraine defeat Russia. And all you have to do is not send your troops, not help us in any way other than letting us strike Russia with the weapons we already have. So when I go today, one of the things that I'm going to put into this outro is an air raid siren. So I'm giving this warning because I know that a lot of you might be triggered by air raid sirens. A lot of you might have sensitivities to loud noises. But I just want to remind you that this is our morning, evening, and middle of the night routine. So with that, I leave you till the next time. You're going to be seeing this episode tomorrow on Tuesday, but we recorded this on Monday, and this is the start of my week and the start of the week of almost all Ukrainians. Please don't forget to share this video, and I'll ask you, particularly this one, please get it as far as you can. Share it, like it, comment on it, help it get out there into the world of YouTube algorithms. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, The Gaze, so you can see more videos like this and hear more news and more information from me and my colleagues. We are working very hard to bring you more informative and interesting segments that can help you better understand what's going on in this country. And I will see you next on Friday. I hope that your morning and your day is going much better than the one we're having. Till next time.